So today we are going to see axial flow turbine. Okay. So previously we have completed the compressor part where you have seen the centrifugal compressor and the axial flow compressor. Okay. Now you know how this turbine and compressor acts. So when we talk about compressor, it compresses the air, okay, where high amount of pressure rise takes place in the part of compressor. Okay. Now in case of turbine, if we see in the turbine what happens, there is a pressure drop, that is the difference between this compressor and the turbine. Okay, there is a pressure drop in the turbine. Am I audible to you? Please let me know.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So there will be a pressure drop in the turbine. So what makes it to decrease the pressure drop, or it causes a pressure drop, and the types, the velocity triangle, the cooling system takes place in the turbine, because when the combustion takes place in the combustion chamber and expels out and moves towards the turbine blade, it is almost a very high temperature. So design of turbine blade has to take care properly. The material selection of the turbine also should be taken care, and effective cooling. The better the effective cooling we look into for the turbine, better will be the efficiency of the overall engine. So here we are going to see axial. In your syllabus you have the axial flow turbine. Now axial flow, so first we will see what is an axial flow turbine. So any machine which is an axial, just as like we have seen in compressor, right, that means the fluid which is moving or coming out from the combustion chamber and entering into this turbine will be in a axial direction. So whenever the flow enters into turbine, it should be in the axial directions. Now here the flow is get accelerated in the nozzle, and the nozzle we can call as a nozzle or stator. So in compressor you have studied, it is a combination of rotor and stator, right? Rotor and stator. So rotor, which will be the rotating, stator is a static, right? So similarly here also will be first, when the flow enters here, it will be enter into the nozzle, we can call as a nozzle, or nozzle is not that what we explains about the component. Okay, so nozzle, or we can call as a stator, then followed with an alternative of the rotor. Okay. So in again I'm comparing this axial turbine with an axial compressor. So when you studied in axial compressor, first it was a, if there is a inlet guide vane, right, followed with rotor, then you have the stator. But here it is different. So when it is entering, first you have the stator, then you have the rotor. Okay, this is a difference between compressor and turbine. So first we have the stator, or call as a nozzle, then we have the rotor, right? Now here also, same as axial compressor, it can be a combination of many stages. Okay, now this is the figure which you can see, it is a figure for a single stage, that is one stage. Now likewise number of stages can be formed. Now what this turbine does, so when the working fluid, this or the hot air gas, moves into the rotor, right, so now the flow is accelerated and passes through the rotor. Now what this rotor does, it imparts a momentum. It imparts a momentum. This word is very important. What it does, imparts a momentum which causes to convert a kinetic energy Okay, and this kinetic energy has been further converted into the power output. So as you know, turbine is a component which drive the compressor, right? So we have to see, when we are designing that, so we have to see the turbine, how much power it will generate, and which will drive the your compressor. Now generally, now this depending upon this power requirement only, then now based on the design, right, based on the power requirement, you need to decide the number of stages you require for this particular turbine. Okay. Now here, next important point is this axial turbine can handle large amount of mass flow rate and more efficient. Now I will tell you how this axial turbine is more efficient. Now axial turbine has also a same frontal area as a compressor. So frontal area of the compressor and the turbines are same, there is no change, but it says that it is more efficient. Now also in the next statement I have said that efficiency of the turbine higher than the compressor. Now why so? This is an important thing to understand, why the efficiency of the turbine is higher than the compressor, right? So generally the efficiency of this turbine is to be higher. The main reason is, in the turbine, what I have said, when the flow, the hot air gas moves to the nozzle and followed with the rotor, what happens in each and every across this stator and the rotor, the pressure drops. Okay. Now unlike what we have seen in the compressor, now in the compressor what happens, when there was a rotor followed with a stator, when the flow was moving from the rotor to stator, there was a pressure rise. This was in the compressor, and due to this pressure rise means what? Pressure rise means in the blade, right, there is a pressure rise, because this one is stator, one is a rotor. When the flow is moving, it is increasing the pressure rise. That means definitely it is causing some amount of boundary layer separation. Due to this boundary layer separation, and due to this boundary layer separation, which will leads to an adverse pressure gradient, okay, which will leads to an increase in adverse pressure gradient, and this is what this boundary layer separation avoids in the turbine. It has been avoided due to this reason. Okay, due to this reason, the efficiency of the turbine is quite higher than the compressor. So you have already separately studied what is boundary layer separation, what is adverse pressure gradient, and now you see the application and the implementation of that boundary layer separation. And due to this, so you can understand one more fact from here. If you're reducing the boundary layer separation, so you can improve the efficiency of the engine also, right? So engine in the sense, you can increase the efficiency of the turbine, right? Next we will see the types of axial turbines. Okay, so there are of three types of turbines. It can be axial, radial and mixed type. So here we are not going to focus on this other types. Here we will only take care of this axial turbine. Now axial turbine can be further classified in two types. One is an impulse and the reaction. Okay. Now both the impulse turbine and the reaction turbine, the main motto of this turbine is to cause a pressure drop. Okay, the main motto of this thing is pressure drop. Now how much the the variations of the pressure drop it will be, that what it matters. Okay, how it will be vary. Now there are some slight difference between this impulse turbine and the reaction turbine, so you must know that the difference. Now impulse turbine says that when the entire pressure drop takes place in the nozzle. Now let's look into this figure. Okay, this is the impulse and this is the reaction. Now let me take you in the next slide. You'll be having better understanding. Okay, so impulse turbine says the entire pressure drop will be taking place in the nozzle. Nozzle means it is a stator type, so which is fixed. Okay, which is fixed. As you can see, when the flow comes here, enters into the nozzle, right, it is having some pressure at this point. Now from this point you can see a dotted line. Okay, a dotted line which shows across the nozzle there is a losses of pressure. Okay, suppose here we had, for an example, 3 bar, and here it becomes an 1 bar, right? Now when further it moves from the stator to the rotor, R means rotor, right, it almost become same pressure loss. That means across this there is no change in pressure. Across the rotor, in case of impulse turbine, there is no change in pressure. Whatever the pressure losses has been taken place in the nozzle, the same are being maintained in the rotor. But let's see for the velocity. So here, when it is coming out, the hot air gases are coming out and entering into the turbine, right, it having some velocity. So when it is crossing across the nozzle, it is getting accelerated. Okay, it is getting accelerated, and this gap between the nozzle and the rotor is called as a clearance. Okay, it's known as a clearance. Now in the clearance it will become maintain the same, and again when the flow enters from the rotor, it again decelerate and leaves towards the nozzle of a gas turbine engine. Okay, so here we are telling this nozzle and stator, do not get confused. Okay, so in case of axial compressor, we have seen the rotor and the diffuser. Okay, rotor and diffuser, or we have said the stator, and here what we are naming, the stator or the nozzle. Okay, stator or the nozzle. And the reason behind of calling this nozzle, because when we are talking within the subsonic region, right, nozzle always accelerate the flow, and diffuser is a place where it decelerate the flow. Okay, due to that reason, they always in the textbooks they mention or refer by means of nozzle or the stator nozzle, and they called rotor, or they call as a rotor ring, right? So this is for the impulse. Now looking for the reaction, and yes, this SS means the single stage. Okay, SS means it's a single stage. Now let's look at the single stage reaction turbine. Okay, single stage reaction turbine, it shows that the entire what will happen, the pressure drop will be shared will be shared by both the rotor as well as the stator. Both will be shared. That means in case of reaction turbine, what happens when the pressure drop will like when it is entering, right? Okay. This is for this figure. Okay. This one is for the reaction. So when it is moving, entering into this stator, right? This is a stator and this is a rotor for the stage 1, right? So when it is entering, as I've taken, it is around 3 bar. Now across the stator it has been decreased to 2 bar. Now further when the flow moves to the rotor, again it is decreased to 1 bar. Here what happens in this impulse, at a stage the nozzle itself causes a pressure loss, but here in the reaction that the both the stator and rotor share the pressure drop. That is the difference between the reaction and the impulse. Okay, now let's look how this pressure now we have seen the pressure. Let's look into the velocity. Now suppose when it is entering into the turbine, the hot air gases entering to turbine, this fixed one, what it happens, as I've said, the fixed one is called as a stator or a nozzle. The nozzle main motto is to accelerate, okay. Then as it moves to the rotor, again it causes a decelerate. Now again this decelerated flow when again enters to the second stage, which is followed with again stator and the rotor, then again it will accelerate, decelerate. Okay. Now there are many possible ways that they can ask you a question. Okay, they will give you the pick the right option. Okay, they will give you many diagrams like this. Okay, like they will give you kind of one profile for an pressure, one profile for the pressure, that how this pressure is changing one stage to another stage, right? They will give you 2 stages, and one is the velocity for many stages. What will be the right value for that? Okay, so you have to choose based on this conditions. You must know what is a reaction and what is a impulse one. Okay, did you get this concept? Just let me know.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. And this is a figure for multi-stage impulse. Okay, this is for multi-stage impulse, not for single stage. Okay.
Ma'am, what is that F1, F2?
F1 is a fixed for the stage 1.
Okay.
R1 is
Okay.
a rotor for the stage 1. F2 is for the stator for the second stage. R2 for the second stage, the rotor for the second stage. Okay, so that's why we call as MS. MS means multi stage reaction.
Stage.
Yeah, multi-stage, and SS represents single stage. Okay, so this is again a complete diagram. You can see that in single stage okay, impulse, in single stage reaction, multi-stage impulse and multi-stage reactions. Okay, how there is a variations, but you see in case of multi-stage impulse, right, if you look into the static pressure, right? So what I have said, gradually there is a sudden drop of the pressure, and after change in the rotor there won't be any pressure. At a stage it will decrease the pressure, right? That is the thing of the impulse. So you can see remaining across the stationary and the moving blades, it's almost constant. Here you see for the single and for the multi-stage. But looking into the reaction, each stages it is decreasing gradually, I can say. It is decreasing gradually in case of reaction turbine. Okay, either it is a single stage or a multi-stage. Okay, now let's look into the working principle. Okay, so already we have said this turbine consists of one of the so what so it will be consist of the nozzle, or we can say the stator. Okay, stator. So this 1 2 3 represents when the flow from the combustion chamber, okay, enters into the turbine. So when the flow is enters into this turbine, it's a point 1. When the flow passes through and move out from the nozzle and hit to the rotor entry is called as a zone 2, and from the rotor when it expels out or expands the hot air gases out from the rotor, in case of single stage we call as a zone 3. Okay, it we call as a zone 3. Now what happens when the flow is moving across this turbine blades? It will cause a momentum. Already we have said, okay, it will causes a momentum. So the gases leaves out from this static nozzle or the stator, right, which will leads to have a accelerated flow. Already we have seen it will leads to an accelerated flow or a high velocity, right? Will have the high velocity, and due to this when the flow moves across the rotor, it will leads to increase in kinetic energy, and that what it will produce the power, right? Now what it says, the gas expanded through this turbine, right, which will be equivalent to the change in enthalpy. Okay, so the work done by this turbine, which will be nothing but the change work done equals to Cp into del H. Okay. Done? Clear? So to make a better work done, so what we have to do, we have to design the blade profile, that is whatever the nozzle and the rotor blades, we have to design it carefully, we have to optimize it. So we have to optimize very carefully that to reduce the blade stresses, because the blade stress has a direct impact on the aerodynamic design of the blades. And as you know, mostly in the turbine we will be using high cambered airfoils. Okay, high cambered airfoils. Now we will see that also what are the different types of flow pattern occurs in the camber, and how to justify that. So turbine blades are mostly it's a high cambered airfoil, so we have to design it very carefully so we can decrease the impact on the blade stress. Okay, that is play a very important role, right? And second is we need to choose it very carefully, the materials the high temperature materials that will be suitable for the blade design. Okay, so more about this blade analysis we will see in the upcoming part also.
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, I have a small doubt.
Yeah, please.
Ma'am, kinetic energy is increasing in water, then why in this graph velocity is decreasing?
No, kinetic energy is increasing in the nozzle,
And in the rotor,
and
ma'am?
that, yes, kinetic energy is increasing in the nozzle. See here, it is accelerating now, and that when it is moving across the rotor, when the this kinetic energy moves, there is energy transfer. Okay, there is a energy transfer. That energy transfer will leads to an power output for this entire turbine. It is not the kinetic energy is increasing over in the nozzle, not in the rotor. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and due to that, okay, there will be a power output, there will be energy transfer. Okay, energy transfer, which will leads to obtain a power output. Okay, that is what will leads to an work done actually. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now we will see the what are the thermodynamical changes occurs in between the nozzle and the rotor. So when the hot air gases enters into the nozzle, what happens ahead of this nozzle? Let's consider P1, and after the nozzle, when the air moves out from the nozzle, is a zone 2. Okay, now we will see what is the transformation of the static pressure, stagnation pressure, and the stagnation enthalpy. So across the nozzle, the stagnation enthalpy, stagnation, or other words we can call as a total, right? Total enthalpy will remains same. Okay, this is the H naught 1, means it is ahead of the nozzle when before entering or while entering, and this is nozzle exit of the nozzle. Okay, enthalpy, the stagnation and the stagnation enthalpy at the exit of the nozzle. Okay, or I can also say at the entry of rotor, I can also say likewise. Okay, now the static pressure, what happens when it is entering, and P2 when it is leaving through the nozzle. So what will happen over here? P2 will be less than P1, can I say, because static pressure is going to decrease, there is a losses occurs in the nozzle. Can I say that P2 is less than P1? Okay, then the stagnation pressure, what happens with the stagnation pressure if it in case of the isentropic condition? Okay, isentropic condition, we consider the P01 equals to P02. That means in between these two region, the stagnation pressure will remain constant. But otherwise, okay, otherwise what happens, the static pressure also decreases as we move, as the flow move across the nozzle. Okay, next, now let's see what about the rotor. Rotor, it is in the point in between this 2 and 3. Okay, so now across this nozzle and the rotor, it will vary. What will vary? Now if I consider, two conditions can happen. One is for the impulse and one for the reaction. Okay, one for the impulse and one for the reaction. But in case of rotor, what happens, there is no change in pressure, because the entire pressure losses takes place within the nozzle. But in case of reaction, what happens, there is a the pressure drop is shared, right? There will be again the pressure drop. There will be a pressure drop. So if there is again pressure drop, then I can say P3 is less than P2, right? P2 is this point, P3 is this point. So when it is moving across the stages, across the rotor, so P3 will be having less because there will be a drop in pressure as compared with the P2. Now again you see the changes in enthalpy. Now here I have said the enthalpy was H naught 2. Now across the rotor what happens? The H naught 2 also decreases. H naught 2 also decreases. Due to this, all those things, then the stagnation pressure will also lead to decrease as compared with the when it was entering, right? You need to remember these points. So as a simplified way, right, in an ideal conditions, right, this is in the ideal condition, that is a relative stagnation enthalpy. So they are considering the what is meant by relative stagnation enthalpy means they are considering the inlet and the outlets will be remain same. Okay, in that condition, the ideal conditions, when we will not consider any losses, so H naught 2 will be equivalent to the H naught 3. So sometimes they might ask you kind of find out the real term expressions for it. So this might be helpful for you. Okay. Now tell me, is that clear that what is the between this rotor and the nozzle? The changes in the static pressure, stagnation enthalpy and the stagnation pressure. Is that clear?
From that formula can you explain H naught to
Okay.
H naught to plus W?
Okay, so here it is a relative stagnation enthalpy. Okay, there is a difference between relative stagnation enthalpy and the stagnation enthalpy. Relative means here we are considering the inlet. Just give me a minute. Okay, relative means the inlet condition is equal to the exit condition. Okay, so we are actually what is happening over here, there is some losses occurring, right? So I cannot say here they are equal, but at ideal condition, okay, at ideal condition when I am explaining to that, so we consider in terms of kind of relative stagnation enthalpy. So in kind of ideal condition, when inlet conditions or exit condition are constant or equal, so that time what will happen, H naught 2 will be equals to H naught 3. Got it? Did you get this relative stagnation enthalpy part?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now coming to this velocity triangle, here also you have some kind of velocity triangle, and this mostly in this all the turbo machineries you have to remember the velocity triangle. The main and the ultimate thing is velocity triangle, the formula, and some kind of this kind of expressions that what are the pressure changes, pressure drop or pressure rise, how the changes in enthalpy change, the small parameters you have to remember here. Okay. Alright. So as like all other thing, whatever the velocity triangle we have seen, so here also same. So due to this motion of this rotor blades, so what will happen, it will cause a two distinct velocity component. One is absolute, okay, absolute one we denoted by capital C, relative is W. Now in some textbook we have also considered V, okay, V or W. Now there are some more connecting velocity triangles, velocities are there. One is a blade speed, absolute blade speed is U, then absolute velocity C, relative velocity W, and this, the relation between this are called as a velocity triangle. So it is also defined as C equals to U plus W. Okay, so this is well known, you can say a velocity vector equations, okay, where C is the absolute velocity, U is the blade speed. Blade speed is also known as a peripheral velocity, okay, and W is known as a relative velocity. Okay, now before going to that this turbine blade velocity, let's look into another important consideration, that is a turbine blade. Okay, so or we can call as an cascade, okay, turbine cascade. Now what is cascade is an series or the series of static plates, okay, series of static plates. Now how they are being constructed, what are the parameters, that you have to know it. Okay, now any blade, okay, it had be classified in some different kind of blade nomenclatures. The first and foremost is that you should know which one is a pressure side and which one is a suction side. Okay, then which is the trailing edge, which is the leading edge. This trailing edge, leading edge is already known to you. Now which one is a hub and which one is the blade tip. Okay, alright, so this particular configuration gives a pressure side where develops the high pressure zone, and here it's a suction side, this low pressure zone. This is the leading edge. You already have explained what is mean by the leading edge and what is mean by the trailing edge and how they are formed. Okay, leading edge, trailing edge, these are the basic nomenclature of the blades. Okay, now what happens here also we will see, I hope you have studied Kutta-Jakusky theorem. Now we will see how this Kutta-Jakusky theorem can play a major role over here. Okay, so as the flow passes through, so I can say as the air passes through this blade, right, or I can say the cassette, so it will deflect, right, the flow will deflect and deviate. Okay, the flow will deflect and deviate. So due to this, if the angle is not suitable, it will cause to form a boundary layer separation. Now already I have said here it doesn't cause as much boundary layer separation as we have seen in case of compressor, right. Here the boundary separation will be less because across the profile, across the blade profile, there will be due to this high camber effect, it will negotiate. Now what will happen, due to this deflection of this particular angle, it will cause some amount of circulation. Now if I denote the circulation as a capital gamma, right, so if I apply the Kutta-Jakusky theorem, right, over here, so to find out the amount of lift per unit span of this blade, we can say rho v circulation. Okay. So where in case of this cascade, they usually mention in terms of mean velocity, and the mean. So when the flow is entering over here, right, and leaving over here, so in between this phase, right, they consider the flow is a mean velocity, and the angle deflected the flow of an axial direction is an alpha m. Okay, the airflow angle deflected is an alpha m, right? So there is some derivations that how to find out this circulation, and the distance between this one blade to another blade is called as a pitch, is known as a pitch. So distance of the pitch into Cw1, that is a tangential velocity when it is entering and when it is leaving the blade element. So using this relation you can find out what is the circulation, and after that substitute this value over here, you will get the amount of lift per unit span produced by this particular blade. So once you find out the lift, then similarly you can find out the amount of CL. You can find out the coefficient of lift from there. You know what is the formula, 2L rho Vm square per unit span it is, so it will be into C. Okay, now here we cannot write S. Okay, can you follow, all of you? All of you, can you follow?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. So we know the remaining parameters. You know what is the CL prime. CL prime is a lift per unit span. Okay, so once you substitute you will get some kind of equations, right? So you need to remember this equation. Please note down these values. Have you noted down? Now in this case, one more important fact that you need to remember during this scenario, right, when the flow enters and leave, the air angle becomes more as compared with the air enters inside. Okay, so when the air enters as compared to that, air exit will be more. Due to this reason, if this is alpha 2 is more, then V2 will be, V2 is the relative velocity will be more at the exit as compared with the entrance one. Okay. This is also one of the key points that we can bring to a conclusion. Now similar way, if I consider the pressure at over here and the pressure at the point here, right, when it is entering and the exit point, so what I can say over here, P2 is greater than P1 is greater than P2. Can I say the statement? Can I say this statement also?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Because it is for the turbine we are considering. Okay, turbine, what will happen? It will cause a pressure drop, not a pressure rise. Pressure rise occurs only in the compressor. Here we will talk or discuss about the pressure drop. Fine. Now before that I will discuss some of the important nomenclatures. Okay, so let me first erase this. the first nomenclature is an angle of incidence. Okay. Angle of incidence. Now angle of incidence, it is the it is the difference between the air angle. Okay, angle, it is a difference between the air angle, that is a alpha 1, to the blade angle while at its entry. When the flow is entering, that is called as an angle of incidence. Could you follow? Angle of incidence denoted by the letter I. It is a difference between the air angle and the blade angle at the entry. Could you follow that? Please let me know. Could you able to follow?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Please note down these values. Then another important is that deviation angle. Deviation angle denoted by the letter del. Okay. It is also the difference of angle of the air angle and the blade angle at the exit. So when we discuss the difference between of the air angle and the blade angle at the exit condition, so we will term as a deviation angle, the difference between alpha 2 minus beta 2. Got it? Then one more is there, fluid deflection angle. Fluid deflection angle. Now fluid deflection angle through the blade, it says that epsilon equals to alpha 1 minus alpha 2. That means it is a difference of the air angle entering and when it is leaving from the exit part. Now this can be also fine. Now here alpha 1 equals to I plus beta 1, and here alpha 2 I can write as del plus beta 2. Now if I substitute in place of alpha, that is I plus beta 1 minus of del plus beta 2. Now from here I can express that beta 1 minus beta 2 plus I minus del. Can I express like that? Right? So this is the fluid deflection angle. Now the last one we have is the camber angle. Okay, camber angle for the blade cassette. So denoted by the letter theta equals to beta 1 minus beta 2. That is a difference between the blade angle at entry and the blade angle at the exit. Could you follow?
Ma'am, by blade angle at entry, you mean blade angle at the stator, ma'am?
Yes. See, now this is the common functions. Okay. Now this is if it can implement either they will mention as a stator or the rotor, but these are the principles are mostly implement for the rotor cases. Okay, these are the mostly considered for the rotor cases when the airflow is entering into the rotor and the stator, because this rotor is the only one which is creating a flow momentum, right? You got my point? Did you get my point? So in case of turbine blades, that means when the flow is entering into the rotor and when it is leaving, passing by. So these are the general terminologies. So either the inlet of the stator and the exit of the stator should be given, or the entry of the rotor and the exit of the stator should be given, right? So when it is entering, we call as angle of incidence. When it is leaving, we call as a deviation angle. Okay, and difference between this inlet air and the exit air we call as a fluid deflection angle, and the camber angle when of any kind of stator or rotor, the difference between this blade angle explains about the camber angle. So camber angle defines that it is represented by the letter by the notation theta. It is a difference between the blade angle at the entry and the exit. Okay, so now it can be when you are finding the blade angle for when you are finding all those parameters for the stator, it will be followed, and if you are finding for the rotor, same thing will be followed. Okay, it depends for whether you are finding for the stator or the rotor. Okay, now similar kind of question. Now when you are designing this turbine blade, okay, now which kind of airfoil are being used in the turbine blade? Can you tell me which kind of nomenclature of turbine has been used? So yeah, now another angle is there called as a stagger angle. Okay, it is known as a stagger angle. So usually what is the stagger angle? Let's look into it. Okay, so here in this figure, this alpha prime 1 represents the beta 1. Okay, and here the alpha prime 2, which one is prime 2, will defines the blade at the exit. Okay, so theta, as I've said, it is the same. Just give me a second. Am I audible to all of you? Hello? Yes, tell me. Where's that? Con? Yeah, Aparna. Yeah, tell me. Aparna, can I call you by 4:30? Okay, all right. Yeah. Guys, am I audible?
Now you are audible.
Okay. I think that my place today, internet really bad today right now. Okay, let's carry on. Okay, can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now we were talking about the stagger angle. Okay, so stagger angle is nothing but the difference of the blade inlet angle or the blade angle, you can see, for the inlet, if I want to find the stagger, blade inlet angle minus the cambered angle. Okay, so this represents the stagger angle represents by the called as a or the denotion as a lambda. Okay, now if I want to consider for an compressor stagger angle is always positive. Okay, so please note down this point, stagger angle is always positive, but in case of turbine the stagger angle is always negative. Okay, the stagger angle for an turbine is always negative, and turbine blades are highly cambered, right? Because another main, as I've said, which helps to remove or avoid the boundary layer separation or the boundary layer separation. Okay, clear? Now in this you can also find the blade efficiency. Now how to find out the blade efficiency?
Then is there a reason
It is
why
a
it is negative?
reason, as I've said now, because of we have to avoid the boundary layer separation, and second, the main motto, it will cause a pressure drop. Due to that, because blade is the one which is making you to cause a pressure drop. Okay, and second, not only that, another is a profile of the blade, Reynolds number is also one of the point. Then the passage, okay, when the flow is coming, right, and the passage, the what is that kind of S value. Okay, what is S means is a pitch distance. Okay, the distance between one airfoil to the another airfoil, another blade, I can say. Okay, this also matters, and because here only how much circulation is takes place across this, that will define how much amount of lift will produce by this particular turbine. You got the point?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now comes the blade's efficiency. Blade efficiency of the turbine can be defined as the ideal by actual. Now I will tell you what is ideal and what is actual. Now ideal static pressure drop. Okay, here we are going to change the ideal static pressure drop by the actual static pressure drop. Now there is another formula, efficiency of the blade for an turbine. They might give you the formula for CD by CL. Okay, right. Now suppose you are designing a different kind of airfoil. By computational analysis, just find the CD by CL, and by your manual or mathematical calculation, find out the alpha m. Alpha m is a mean angle. Okay, so you can find out your blade efficiency. These are the theoretical way to find out the blade efficiency.
Ma'am, what is the denominator? 1 plus CD by CL
Cot
cot.
alpha m. M is for the angle, mean air angle. Okay, mean air angle.
Yes, ma'am, done.
Okay, done. Fine. Let's move to the next part. Okay, already we have done this. Explain this part. Okay, next comes how to find out the blade height. Okay, now if you remember the compressible flow, okay, compressor. So gradually, when there is a inlet guide vane followed with a rotor, then followed with a stator, then gradually when it was going, the blade height, the mean blade height was gradually decreasing. You remember, already have explained the factors happening for the compressor as compared with the. So another, not only that, so when the flow enters into the compressor and leaves, here the area also decreases. But okay, but in case of turbine, it is just a reverse. So gradually, what happens here, the blade height increases in the direction of flow in a turbine. Just a reverse case what you have seen in the compressor, right? Now how to find out the blade height? You know the mass flow rate. What is mass flow rate from the continuity equation? Is a rho a v. Okay, va means it's a axial flow you are going to take. va is a axial flow velocity you will consider. Area can be written as pi dh. Already have solved some problems. Now substitute over here and you will get, this is the formula for the blade height. Okay, next. Okay, here already have discussed the blade efficiency. Okay, right. Now coming to this, the stage velocity triangle. Okay, now same as we have seen in the remaining centrifugal as well as for the axial flow of the compressor, axial flow compressor. Now here this is a slightly change in the axial turbine. Now can you find out the difference between the axial compressor and the axial turbine velocity triangle? What is that difference? What is the difference? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what is the difference? So do you remember this WB alpha C, right? So this is a W, this is C, this is CA, this was the beta value, this was the alpha value, right? And complete one was the U. You remember this?
Yes.
This is for which one? This is for the axial compressor, right? The angle between this axial flow and the relative velocity, okay, V becomes a blade angle. We get a blade angle, right? This is the blade angle. Air angle, it's a distance or the angle between the axial velocity and the absolute velocity, right? That's what we have seen in axial compressor. Now what is the difference? What is the difference you can see in between the diagram? Do you remember the diagram? So when we are having diagram between this rotor and then we have a stator. So in the stator, right? So let me magnify this thing. Let me magnify that. So when the flow expelling out from the stator, right? Expel out from the stator, we were not having any relative velocity. We didn't had no relative velocity at the exit of the stator. Do you remember that?
Yes, ma'am. At last.
And we had only, yes, we had only this thing, right? The stator. Now same thing will be followed. It is just a reverse thing, okay? Just remember the turbine and the compressor is a reverse thing. So when the flow is entering into the nozzle, that means into the entering into the turbine, right? There is again no presence of relative velocity. There is no relative velocity. So the air angle is existing. Okay, air angle is there. Okay, when it is entering and hitting into the nozzle blade, this is an absolute velocity. This is an axial velocity, right? Now from this nozzle blade, when it is expelling out, okay, expelling out, the diagram, the velocity triangle becomes something like this, okay, something like this, which is overlapping with each other, which is overlapping with each other. Could you get the point? Are you able to follow? Please respond so I will know you can hear me.
Yes, ma'am, we can hear it.
Okay. So here what is happening, that the distance between alpha 2 is greater than beta 2 and beta 3 is greater than alpha 3. Okay, so here what we are just doing is we are overlapping this profile. So now what you are doing, just look into the basic diagram which I have drawn here, okay, in this diagram. Now this is a basic diagram which has been taught. Now if I am putting this thing over here, I am just overlapping, putting this line inside of this. Now what it will be? Now this is the existing flow. Let me magnify and draw. If I want to draw only the angle alpha, that is air angle, okay, air angle already existing, okay, so that is a larger one I am keeping as alpha, right? This is C, this is CA, right? And distance between this the distance between the relative and the this is called as axial your absolute becomes the blade angle, right? Now what is this angle? This one is CT1 or CW, can I say?
Yes, ma'am.
And this is WT. Can I say that? Now when I want to overlap this thing, right, this one, this line, I want to convert it over here, right? So what I can do, now this becomes my another triangle. Now this one becomes the angle beta, right? Now this is W. Now distance between the WC gives you the U, and this one to this one gives you the CT2, right? And here to here it's become WT, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? Okay. Now similar way it is formed over here. A similar way it has been formed in the station 3. Now here what is higher? Beta 3 is higher. So what I will do is, first I will draw this one, okay, this triangle. Now if I want to draw this triangle first, right, this is CA, which is always perpendicular, right? This is, if I have to draw, this will be the W, right? Now I have to draw the absolute angle which is less. Now this one was beta, and I have to make a less angle which is alpha, right? This one, so this becomes my C. The distance between the C and W will becomes my U. This becomes my U, right? This becomes my CT1, and from here to here point becomes my WT3. Okay, could you follow this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now this is what you have to remember. This is a basic thing. What this is a condition. Based on the condition, first you are going to draw this alpha 2 graph. Now from there you can make this one. Then when you want to find for this exit of the rotor blade, you know this beta 3 is greater. You are going to draw this one first. Okay, accordingly you can make this triangle, right? These are the conditions. Based on this condition you can make this triangle. Got it? Now let's see in this triangle what we can bring to an conclusion. What are the mathematical relations that we can bring into the picture, right? Now let's consider only the rotor blade alone. Am I audible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Just
Yes, ma'am.
unmute. Okay. See, why I'm asking, because at a lot many times this disconnection happen.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Connection lost.
okay. Yeah. So okay. All right. So let's consider for the rotor blade. Okay. So rotor blade at the inlet and the exit. Okay. Because why we are going to find for only for the section 2 and 3, because this is what will give you the momentum. Okay, here the acceleration occurs, but due to this energy transformation, the rotor is the one which will producing this all those phenomena. Okay, so here we will only first focus on the station 2 and 3, just like what we have focused in compressor. In compressor we have focused only for the section 1 and 2, right? Here we are focusing the station 2 and 3. Now let's consider this velocity triangle. Okay, this 2. Now what kind of conclusions that we can bring from here? Our main motto to get some relations between this alpha 1, alpha 2, beta 1, sorry, here we are going to say 2, alpha 2, alpha 3, beta 2, beta 3. Here we are going to make some relations. And how to make the relations? Now first you see, let's take the bigger triangle and the smaller triangle. Take constant that Ca2, because always in axial compressor we consider Ca1 equals to Ca2 equals Ca3 equals to Ca. So we will keep the Ca as a common factor. Okay. Now let's take the first triangle. Okay. This one. Now how I can find using Ca? Now using Ca I can use cos, let's talk cos alpha 2. The cos means base by height, right? So base is Ca, height is Ct2. Now can I write Ct2 as Wt2 plus U? Can I write likewise? Yes? Can I write?
Yes, ma'am. Total.
Yeah, total. Now similar way, what are the ways I can include that C?
Ma'am, it's cos alpha 2 or cot alpha 2?
Cos,
And
sorry, I have to use hypotenuse, right,
Yes,
right,
ma'am.
right. C, yeah, got it. I have to take hypotenuse, right? C2. Okay. Fine. Now next I want to find this one. Okay. How I can find? Again cos beta 2, because this angle is beta, right? Again base by hypotenuse. Now base by what is a base? Ca2 or Ca, hypotenuse is W2, right? Now next let's find any other way I can find alpha. Now I can find sine alpha 2. If I want to find sine, can I use this? I cannot use the Ca value, right? So I cannot use sine. So let's take tan. I can take tan. Tan alpha 2, that is height by base. What is height? Ct2, base is Ca2, right? So Ct2 becomes Wt2 plus UCa2, right? Similarly tan beta 2 we can take. Okay, please try to solve along with me. Height by base, what is the height? Height is Wt2 by Ca2, right? By Ca. Then next, now this is for the stage 2 we have found. Now similarly we can find for the station 3. How we can find for the station 3? Okay, again let's consider this part. Okay, so we'll consider this as a main constraint, Ca3. Okay, so I can take again cos alpha 3 equals to base by hypotenuse. What is base? Ca, hypotenuse is C3, right? Then again I can take tan, height by base, tan alpha 3 will become height is Ct3 by Ca. Now for the beta, okay, for the beta angle, cos beta 3 becomes, what is the base? Ca. What is the base hypotenuse? W3. Then tan beta 3 becomes height. What is height? Wt3 hypotenuse by base equals to u plus CT3 by Ca. Is it right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now let's look into this another expressions. Can I write CT2 equals to WT2 plus U? Can I write?
Yep.
Okay. Then or CT2 minus WT2 equals to U. I can write this. Then WT3 equals to U plus CT3. I can write. Then U equals to WT3 equal plus, sorry, it will be minus CT3. Can I write?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. Now, can I explain this that CT2 minus WT2 equals to WT3 minus CT3? Can I write? Can I write this expression?
Yes, ma'am. Both equating.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. Now we can also further express likewise that CT2 plus CT3 equals to WT2 plus WT3. Can I write this also from the previous equation?
Yes, ma'am.
From previous equation, can I write? Okay. Now you see what is meant by CT2. What is meant by CT2? Did you got any relation with CT2? So see here, CT2. We got this relation. Then we had another relation with WT2. Then we had a relation with this CT3 relation. Then WT3 relation, right? Now substituting this value, if I want to substitute this value, what will I get? What is CT2 value we got from previously? Can you tell me the value?
Tan alpha 2 into CA2.
Tan alpha 2 into
CA2.
CA is common. We are taking C, all the CA's are same, right? We'll take CA. Then plus T3, CT3, what we are getting? What we got? That is also CA into tan. Did you got alpha 3?
Alpha 3.
Then WT2, what we got? CA into
10.
this value, tan beta 2. Then this one we became the tan beta 3, right? Now if I take CA common, so what will I get here? Tan alpha 2 plus tan alpha 3 equals to tan beta 2 plus tan beta 3. Okay. Could you able to get it? This is a very important expression. Similar expression you got in your axial compressor. Okay, what we got there? there the values were different. There axial compressor you got tan in terms of alpha 1 plus alpha beta 1 equals to tan alpha 2 plus tan beta 2. This is the value you got for right, this for axial compressor. So do not get confused with this. Okay, this is for the axial turbine. Can you follow?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, right. So this can be also be written as then tan alpha 2 minus tan beta 2 equals to tan beta 2 minus tan alpha beta 3 minus tan alpha 3. Okay, so you can relate that here it was a plus and in case of turbine it become minus. Okay, so do not because here we have tan beta also, so just remember this formula, this expression. Okay, next, can I change it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now we will look into that performance and what is the work done and so on. So again, the work done per unit stage, okay, of mass flow rate. Okay, these are the values for the per stage work. Okay, so it can be written as this formula. This is the formula. Now again I'm comparing this work done formula with what you have seen in compressor. It was CW2 minus CW1. You remember that formula, right? So here it is a plus sign and plus with CW2, that is for the rotor at the entry and the rotor at the exit. Now similar way we have already know what is CW2 and CW3. So in terms of CA, tan alpha and alpha 2 and alpha 3, so we got this one and this is a final expression. Okay. So already we have said tan alpha 2 plus tan alpha 3 equals to tan beta 2 plus tan beta 3. So we can also write down this equation over here, right? Because tan alpha 2 plus tan alpha 3 equals to tan beta 2 plus tan beta 3. Okay, now already we have seen the work done isn't change in enthalpy. Now what is change in enthalpy is this. This is the value for change in enthalpy. So this can be also be equated to UCA tan beta 2 plus tan beta 3. Now there is one more change you might have noticed in work done. We had kind of work done factor. You remember? We are considering work done factor which is ranged from 0.86 to 0.95 something, it ranges, right? Now here we don't have this work done factor. We mostly neglect this work done factor in case of turbine. The reason behind, the one and only reason, is the boundary layer separation. So here in this turbine we don't have very less boundary layer separation as compared with the in a compressor, right? So that's why we ignore this work done factor. The losses are much less in turbine as compared with the compressor. Could you follow that?
Yes,
Could you able to
ma'am.
follow? Okay, because why I'm mentioning each and every point, because they might arise a question from this particular point. Okay, so they might ask you that why that factor is not considered. Find out the assertive and reason questions they might ask you. Okay, yes. So what it says that, so already I said there is a transformation of energy. So due to this pressure drop, Okay, due to this pressure drop across the stator and the rotor, what happens? So what happened? Okay, one more thing. So the absolute velocity when it is entering, or I can say for in case of stator, right, in case of stator it increases, and for the rotor it is decreases. Stator it is increases, for the rotor it is decreases, right? This one more important point, because here beta 3 is less than alpha, sorry, beta 2 is less than alpha 2, and beta 3 is greater than alpha 3. Could you follow?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, right. Now we have that blade loading efficiency, loading coefficient, that is as same as that what you have studied in for the what you have studied for the compressor, right? So same thing goes for the here, right? So in place of this work done, right, in place of this work done, you're just substituting this value, you will get this value. Okay, so you need to note down this blade loading efficiency. Okay, so please note down. So another term for blade loading efficiency, sorry, coefficient, or or it is known as a temperature drop coefficient, okay, which is denoted by the letter psi. Have you noted down this formula?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. So now comes the degree of reaction. Again, the degree of reaction plays a very important role. So same as what you have seen in compressor again, but here we are going to change in enthalpy of rotor by the change in enthalpy of the stage. Okay, so rotor, that is change in, same as what you have seen, stage means change in enthalpy for the rotor plus change in for the stator, okay, which defines the stage. The combination of rotor and the stator gives the stage. So the rotor point defines the point 2 to 3, stator point 1 to 2, okay, and this is 2 to 3. So it can be written as this form. Okay, now further, this degree of reaction can also be defined as static or pressure head change occur in the rotor to the total change across the stage. Okay, now this is another definition, but this definition is valid when the flow is incompressible. Okay, can you follow? This is only possible when they define when the flow is incompressible. Okay, because this del H can also written as del change on P by rho. It can be also written likewise. Can you follow that? Can you guys follow it? Can you follow?
Yes, ma'am.
Huh? Can you follow, right? Okay. So this is a condition. They might ask when this condition might be satisfied, when the flow is incompressible. Only then it will be followed. Now after that, this is a final expression for degree of reactions. Now based on the degree of the value of degree of reaction given, so accordingly we can substitute the values and solve, as you have done the same thing as you have done for an axial compressor. Okay, the same pattern, the formulas and the patterns will change, right? Then another important factor is a flow efficiency, flow coefficient phi. It is a relation between, or the ratio between, this axial flow with an blade velocity or the blade speed. So further these values can be written in terms of that. Now this kind of questions might come, how this stage loading, that is psi, okay, then flow coefficient, okay, phi, and degree of reaction lambda, how these are connected with each other. So you need to remember these formulas, okay, you need to remember these formulas. Please note down this formula. Please let me know once you have noted down the formulas. Have you done it? These are 4 different formulas. This one separate, this one separate. Okay, could you able to follow it?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. Now another stage efficiency. Now here we will see a different kind of stage efficiency apart from what we have seen in case of the normal isentropic relation. Okay, so here we will see 2 kind of stage efficiencies. Okay, one is a total to static efficiency. Another one is a total to total. Usually total to total, what we see actually the isentropic efficiency. Okay, so both are same, but let's see, there are 2 types of efficiency, stage efficiency. One is a total to static and total to total efficiency. Now when we discuss about the turbine efficiency, it is always the actual by the ideal conditions. Okay, actual by the ideal conditions. Now how this actual and to ideal conditions varies? Now it is all across the stages, that is when the flow enters into the nozzle, then leave from the nozzle, then exit out from the nozzle, that is complete the process 1 to 3. So the change in enthalpy by across the stages, one is ideal, another is the actual. So we get some formula like this: actual, that is T03 minus T01. Okay, so here they have written T01 first because the T01 temperature will be more as compared with T03. So this is another important note that as gradually the flow moves across the stator to rotor, the temperature gradually decreases. Okay, the temperature gradually decreases. T01 is a point where we'll be having the highest, peakest temperature. So that's why T01 minus T03. Now with the ideal, now since we are stating the total to static, then when we are discussing, we will consider the ideal static condition. Okay, that is T01 minus the static temperature at the exit point of the rotor. At the exit point of the rotor. So this defines the total to static efficiency. In short, we call as a eta TS, total to static. So we have some kind of basic relations. So using that, you get something like this. Please note down this formula. Note down this formula, final expression. So because this we got again based on the isentropic relation. Okay, isentropic relation, T3 by T01 we get as P3 by P01 is to gamma minus 1 by gamma. Okay, fine. Next we have total to total turbine efficiency. Please let me know, can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Now in total to total we define eta suffix tt. Okay, total to total. Now total to total both are will be in the, again efficiency means actual by ideal. Now both here we will be considering the stagnation points or the static or the total points. Okay, so again the same thing we will take up. Now here all the points are the stagnation points. We have the relation of our stagnation points, so we will get, this is the final expression for the total to total turbine efficiency. Okay, 1 minus T03 by T01 by 1 minus P03 by P01 gamma minus 1 by gamma. Okay, so this is the actual, or this is also known as the isentropic efficiency of a turbine. Now how this eta TT and eta TAs are interconnected with each other? So there is another relation, right? If the question they give you the V3 value, okay, the other values, you can able to find out this unknown parameters. Okay, this is the relation. Eta TT equals to eta TS by 1 minus V3 square into 2 CP T01 minus T3s. Okay, this is again for the static condition. Next important point, always, it's always the total to total turbine efficiency is greater than to total to static turbine efficiency. Always this value will be greater than this value. Could you follow?
Ma'am, what is the subscript S represent in T03?
T0, which one?
Ma'am, eta TT is equal to T01 minus T03 divided by T01 minus T03S.
3s, right? S represents, see, T when we are representing something not 3 means it is an stagnation point.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and when we represent T3
Yes, ma'am.
it's a static point. point. Okay, so here we are taking an ideal static point.
Ma'am, above formula. In above
No,
formula.
yes, ma'am. First formula.
Here
NTT equal to
entity equals
T
to
naught
T
by
naught
T naught.
1 minus
divided.
see, you remember this formula, T naught 1 minus T naught 3 by T naught 1 minus T naught prime. Instead of prime I am giving S. That's what they have given over here. So usually we define as a prime for an ideal conditions. Okay, so here they have given S. So that's why here also when they're mentioning the static, they have given S means this is an ideal condition. Got it? Got the difference? Okay. Now this is a very important statement. So many I think last few years they have asked a question based on this conceptual thing. Okay, so these are the 1 mark or 2 marks things. Nowadays they are going to ask you some multiple selection of questions. Okay, multiple selection question. So they might give you the couple of options, and from that options you have to find out which one is the right one for you. Okay, so you should know each and every statements. Okay,
Ma'am, what is that V3, ma'am?
which one? V3 is a here is an when it is, I will show you what is V3.
At station 3.
Yes, at the station 3 only, this is the V3. Okay, that is a relative velocity. Okay. So if you have confusion, please put an arrowhead over there when you're writing down the notes, so that will be helpful for you. Okay, again please note down these two formulas, the work done formula in terms of total to total turbine efficiency and total to static efficiency. So this is nothing but we can also again write Cp has been given over there, so we can also write Cp, we need to add Cp. So got it? So Wt is nothing but the change in Cp. Okay, sorry, Cp into T naught 1 minus T naught 3, that is del T. Okay, this is also del T. So they might not use the work done, they might give you the other factors, so you can, using this relation, you have to find out. Okay, there is no difference. The main difference is here they have the stagnation pressure, here we have the static pressure. All right,
Yes, ma'am.
can I change to next? Okay, now there are certain reason of turbine losses. Okay, so these are the basic reasons for turbine loss, and to designer has to make it much efficiently so that they can make an effective way of design. The main concern to reduce the losses, so they have to take a more focus on the blade profile. Okay, blade profile, deflection, aspect ratio, right? These are the different constraints of that, how to make a design efficient one. Okay, thickness to chord ratio of the blade, right? So again the same thing, the profile losses, the annular loss, the reason for annular loss, reason for secondary losses. So please do focus and learn what are these losses. Tip losses are also there. I think I missed that slide. Tip losses also there. So no, there are reasons for the losses, how to enrich the performance, right? So here is another important performance thing that they can optimize or can find out. So it says that this is an important statement for this: to employ a high temperature for a given pressure ratio leads to an high thermal efficiency, which will leads to increase the thrust to weight ratio, and if the thrust to weight ratio increases, it will help to lower the specific fuel consumption. Okay. So what you can understand from here, as we increase the pressure ratio, right, the gradually based based on the maximum temperature means the turbine inlet temperature. Okay, as I've said, this play a very important role. Turbine inlet temperature. So as we increase the turbine inlet temperature, we can say the thermal efficiency will also improve. Got it? As we decrease this along the decreasing way, decreasing the turbine inlet temperature, the efficiency, the thermal efficiency will also fall. Okay, did you get it? Did you get this point?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then comes to cooling. Here in turbine, right, the another important thing, the concern that you have to take care is a cooling. Basically there are two types of cooling. One is a external, another is a internal. Okay, now the cooling methods, either it can be done by air cooling or by spraying some amount of agents which will help to cool the blade. Okay, so these are the theoretical, all these are theoretical: film cooling, transparent cooling, how these are done, right? Mainly it is based on the process of heat transfer process. Okay, one is a conduction, one is a convection. Okay, so conduction means from like kind based on one solid region to another solid body. Okay, when the heat transfer moves from one solid body to another solid body, it is called as a conduction. Convection means like from a solid body to the fluid. Okay, like kind of film transpirations, like transpiration cooling. These are comes under this kind of concept. This is a theoretical one, so I'm not going much deep into it, just know the procedures. So again they can ask you to find out the odd one out, which one relates with the external cooling process of the blade, which one is an internal cooling process, and which one is efficient, and how they are done, right? Some kind of mechanisms to follow. Okay, so problems of this turbine, maybe I will take one of the classes, maybe tomorrow I will let you know when I will take, or maybe if not possible I will take on maybe next week, right? Next week we will be completing the propulsion thing, that is the main target, and after completion of the propulsion we will jump to the structure. Okay, so now let me know if you have any doubt, we can clarify it. Anybody having any questions?
Ma'am, now I don't have any doubts, ma'am. But once if you